Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be covering the dwarves for Faction Wars since their Faction Wars area is releasing soon. So yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, so as we go to the battle screen and we go into Faction Wars, we can see over here on the far right, the Dwarf Crypt unlocks in about 3 hours, and this is the first time in the history of Raid that the Dwarf Crypt for Faction Wars is going to be released. So wanted to throw out a quick video just kind of going over the Dwarf faction in general and kind of talk about a few things in terms of, you know, which ones are good and all of that sort of stuff. Alrighty, so as we pull up the dwarves here, we'll scroll down, bottom left, dwarves. Alright, so I'll put this down in the video description, so let me pull this up here. Yeah, so I've got this little tier list where I put all of the images or you know, thumbnails of each champion, kind of ranked S, A, B, C, D. S being like God tier, where if you have them, you're gonna definitely want to use them in Faction Wars. A being very good, B being decent, you can get some value out of them and use them for sure if you're early to mid game, and then C and D are going to be the champions that are situationally okay, but are definitely not going to be like really good performers, especially towards the end game or helping you progress super far. A couple notes about Faction Wars, especially for the dwarves. The stun set in general in Faction Wars is absolutely incredible because it's going to put a bunch of CC on them. So in Faction Wars, we mainly fight, well, I come from Diablo 3 and we call them trash mobs. So it's like your non-boss enemies. You fight a lot of regular champions. There's not a whole lot of like boss fights in Faction Wars. There are boss levels where you're probably going to want to build like a specific team and kind of manual it and really pay attention into all that stuff. But in terms of like farming Faction Wars, you're typically going to be farming a level that is it's just trash mobs. It's 3 waves of regular mobs. They're not resistant to like CC or anything. That's why stun, fear, freeze, stuff like that is just incredible in Faction Wars, and the more CC you can bring, the higher the likelihood of you being able to clear higher stages than normal. So in terms of the leadership role, Torment probably has the best aura out of all of the dwarves. The 33% ally defense in all battles is amazing. Typically, defense and speed auras are regarded as the best auras in the game, and being all battles is even better. So Torment is, a lot of the community, or at least a lot of the endgame players, probably have Torment because he was a fusion a couple months ago and people were really pushing for him because he was a void dwarf legendary. So a lot of the endgame players are going to have him in their Faction Wars teams. A lot of, you know, your early to mid game players probably won't have Torment yet, but there are other options in terms of good champions. The Molly is another one that was a fusion like probably 5 months ago or so. So again, a lot of your mid to end game players probably have a Molly in their roster because she was also a fusion, and she is also very good in Faction Wars. Revive is similar to stun being very good. Revive is very good in Faction Wars because if something bad happens, boom, you can pick up a champion and keep right on going. So Revive can be very clutch in Faction Wars. Molly also has a base speed of 107 and a pretty good base defense of 1465. What was Torment's base defense? Yeah, Molly has an insane base defense. Trunda is one that's also pretty good. She does scale with attack, but a really good attack score of 1608. But she's got stun on her A1, and that's why you'll notice I put her in the S tier. Stun on an A1, especially attacking multiple times with a 60% chance that we can book, is going to be amazing. And she's got some other utility as well, some AoE, and you know, is another AoE that hits once and then AoE. And she's got an attack aura for magic allies in all battles. That's not super good, but Trunda, another one that is very good. Mountain King, I put down in the A tier. Mountain King's very good in like the arena and in certain areas of the game. He's not quite the impact of the he doesn't bring a whole lot of like buff or debuff or stun or anything like that, but I did put him in the A tier. He's very good. The only non-legendary that I have up in like the A tier is going to be Gala Long Braids. Now Gala is going to pair very well with the lifesteal set. The dwarves don't have a lot of good healing and sustain in their faction. You do have Molly that can pick you you up and revive you, and they do have a decent amount of provoke, but not a whole lot of healing and sustain. I believe that is one reason that I put Rearguard Sergeant. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. Rearguard Sergeant is up in the S. The only epic that I had in A is Gala. I kind of misworded that. The reason I put Rearguard up there is because she's got the sustain ability here. On a 3-turn cooldown, ally protection, and 15% continuous heal buff on all allies except this champion. So that's kind of the best sustain and healing you're going to get out of the dwarves, and that's why I put her up in the S tier. She's also got an A1 that lowers defense and an A2 that lowers attack of your enemies, and she's defense based. So in terms of like a faction war setting, she's kind of everything you're looking for. The decent base speed of 97, the sustain, the defense lowering, the attack lowering. Very, very good champion, and I put her up in the S tier because of that. But anyway, back to Gala. I put her up in the A tier because she'll do very well with lifesteal set. She's got an ability that grants an extra turn if the champion has full HP after using the skill. So if you can get her to hit pretty hard, she'll attack 1, 2, 3, ignore the defense, heal up to full, grants an extra turn, then she'll slam this, each hit ignores defense, place a shield on this champion for 2 turns. She can really do very well. You keep her full life, keep her at full HP, so that she's always going to be, you know, getting extra turns from this, and she's very good in other areas of the game as well. She can really crank out the deeps, sustain herself, throw in like a lifesteal plus speed or lifesteal plus cruel or something, and she will do very good as far as an ADC. I get that from League of Legends. I call it an attack damage carry. You're gonna want in faction wars, typically you want like a reviver, a team buffer like speed, defense, a team buffer. You want a debuffer, so someone who lowers attack of your enemies, lowers their defense, stuff like that. And then you want a damage carry, someone who's really going to crank out the deeps. And then that 5th spot is kind of a flex. You can bring another debuffer, you can bring another damage carry, you can kind of play around with what you have best, but generally you want to get those 4 roles filled with as much CC that you can kind of get in there. So the reviver, the buffer / healer, the debuffer, and the damage carry, and Gala can really be a void damage carry who is never weak and just cranks out the damage and kind of sustains herself. Then as we get into the B tier, Grizzled Jarl is kind of a famous one because a lot of people like to use him in the clan boss. He's a defense-based champ. Heal reduction is okay, not amazing, but he's also got the place a block debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown and 60% increased defense on all allies. That's a very good A2. And then he's got this AoE that decreases attack and decreases max HP, and he's based on defense. So he's almost in the A tier, and some of you are probably going to argue with me that he should have been in the A tier, and I can see the argument. That's why I put him at the top of the B tier. But Grizzled Jarl will be a really good one that a lot of you will have developed for like the clan boss and you know, certain dungeons and stuff that you are using him, because he's a pretty good generally useful champion, and he's kind of right on the borderline of A or B, and you can kind of make a case for both on Grizzled Jarl. Alrighty, and the next one I want to touch on is Runic Warder. So base speed of 103 is amazing for a rare. Attack 1 enemy twice based on HP. I like that, based on HP. Anytime we can get damage based on sustain, like defense and HP, it's very good. I like the decreasing attack, and I like the reflect damage and the source of healing, because it's kind of tough to get with the dwarves, and that's why I kind of had him up in the B tier. And then the last one I'm going to go over is Rockbreaker. This is the last one before we get into the C's and the D's, which I won't cover. You can kind of, you know, I'm not going to make a 30-minute video and go over all the, you know, suboptimal champions. But Rockbreaker is based on defense, so remember we like that. The A1 that increases the defense, and he can kind of soak up damage for you while placing Provoke on all enemies. Provoke is also very good in Faction Wars. You can kind of keep your ADC, keep your damage carry alive, and then a passive here, 25% chance of decreasing damage inflicted on this champion. So he's going to provoke and be tanky, and then we've got the defense aura that is only in the arena. If this was like all battles by 20-25%, then Rockbreaker would almost slide up into the next tier, because defense auras are amazing. But the way it stacks, yeah, we're going to be, you can see the tier down there on the bottom right: Trunda, Torment, Molly, and Rearguard are kind of your S tier elite champions that you're really going to want to have in your team. And then Mountain King and Gala are really good down there in the A tier. Grizzled Jarl, you can make an argument, should be up there with them. And then Runic and Rockbreaker kind of round out the good champions for Dwarfs and Faction Wars. Some of you might be curious. I'll put this away. Which team am I going to be using? I am going to be going Torment as the leader with the defense aura, and then I'm going to put Molly in there just for a source of provoke and HP burn and revive. I'm definitely going to put in Tyrande and Gala as kind of my damage carriers, and then I'm going to have Rearguard Sergeant in there. That's going to kind of be my general team, is Torment, Molly, Tyrande, Gala, and Rearguard Sergeant. I've got most of them maxed out. I've been kind of planning for Dwarves to come out, so that is the team I am going to use, and that is kind of covering the Dwarves in general, most of the good champions for Faction Wars. If I missed anything that you think should have, you know, been in the A or B tier, definitely let me know. I love hearing your guys' opinions, and that helps me out to learn for future content. But yeah, I will have that infographic down in the video description, this infographic right here. I will, you know, put a picture, you know, link to it so you can pull it up and kind of see the icons there for which champions and kind of how I felt about them. So yeah, enjoy the Dwarf Faction Wars coming out today, and as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.